So, how does magic work in Lord of the Rings? Because Tolkien defines it by two types. There is the idea of innate magic that's used sparingly, the idea of the reduction of labor to bring something more into the physical world. And this is called magia, is the term he uses. People like Gandalf use this type of magic. We see it with him lighting wet wood on fire or lighting pine cones on fire to throw at the wargs in The Hobbit. Then there's the idea of this other magic, Goetia, which is not a term that Tolkien really made himself. It actually has Greek origins. It's used elsewhere in the discussion of like spell casting and grimoires, manufactured magic, the machinations of magic, if you will, where, something that Tolkien uses as an example are the rings of power. Because a lot of people don't realize that when the elves, after the first age, are summoned back to Valinor, some want to stay, and they stay for kind of selfish reasons. They don't want to go back to Valinor and be at the bottom of the hierarchy again. They want to stay at the top. They want to be the ones who are more powerful than the dwarves and the rustic elves and mortals, and heal these lands of all the desolation and marring by Morgoth in the first age, and so forth. And Sauron kind of wants the same thing, but just for different reasons. He feels like he needs to fix Middle-Earth because it's been abandoned by the Valar, and that he's going to do that, create Valinor on Middle-Earth. But he's going to subjugate others to his will and dominate them in order to bring order to it as well. And he uses the elves to do exactly that, or at least attempts to. And that's why the Rings of Power are created, to fight off the decay of time, to preserve the realms of the elves, and to fight off this idea of fading, the passing of time. But the rings did something else. When you put a ring of power on, it emphasizes the power of the user. And this is very unnatural. This is where this idea of the machination of magic, the idea of pursuing magic for self gain. And that really defines the difference here between the innate ability and somewhat associated with good magic. We see Galadriel even using this type of good innate magia magic in the Mirror of Galadriel chapter, to the point where Samwise is like, is this elvish magic? Only for Galadriel to be like, I don't know, this is just normal for me. And there becomes this idea of like magic being more artistic with the elves to some sense. This goetic approach is not so evil and it isn't really defined as evil. It really depends on the user. Someone like Sauron trying to subjugate others to his will, but then using his magia to bulldoze other with that type of, physical magic where he can just conjure it. And it's a very interesting conversation because Tolkien himself says, I don't really have a true definition for this. But he does see it as that, a kind of philosophical conversation, To fight the natural order would be unnatural, goetic. But to have innate ability and to understand one's place or its purpose and utilize it, well, that's magia. That is the innate magic of the world.